Welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast. You're in the right place if you're a growth-seeking being who acknowledges the challenges and delights of your humanity on the path to an ever more conscious life. If you want to feel inspired to love and accept yourself, to feel free to be and express you in all your brilliance, if you want to truly value yourself and others and feel energized and alive both at home and in the world, then sit back and take a breath as you explore and grow the brilliance of your beautiful human self with your host, the father of non-personal awareness and creator of the MPA process, Joel Young.
Hello, and welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast with me, Joel Young. This is episode number 27, and oh my goodness, how are you? What strange times we find ourselves in. We're going to talk a bit about that today. Firstly, if you're brand new here, welcome. I'm so delighted that you found me, and if you're back again for more, that delights the crap out of me. I'll tell you, I'm so happy you're back again. And delighted that you choose to spend this time with me. As ever, I'm going to invite you, if your first time, check it out. If you're here again, if you like it, go tell someone about this podcast, point them in the right direction. They can go to beabrillianthuman.com to find this podcast and then branch out to whatever podcast platform is theirs of choice. And make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I do want to give a shout out. I do love feedback from you and messages and questions about what you'd like me to talk about. But this week's shout out goes to Talene Tarpinian, who I actually worked with a few years ago. She's at True Bloom Coaching on Instagram. If you want to go find her, she does great content there. And she sent me a message after episode 20, which was the What is Awakening episode, where George Hardwick interviewed me for his show, and I guested his podcast onto my podcast. Here's what she said. She said, "I'm loving your podcast and slowly catching up on the ones I missed. Thank you, and if I may say, I'm proud of you." Bless you, Talene. And yes, you may say you're proud of me. Thank you very much. I mean, one of the things that I love about doing a podcast is that, once they're published, they're there to come back to any time. And so if you just found me, there's like a wonderful back catalogue of juicy inspiration that you can binge listen to, better than Netflix. Don't tell it, say I told you so. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll link episode 20 in today's show notes, and you can go directly to the show notes for that episode if you go to www.beabrillianthuman.com/20. In fact, that's true of any episode. Just put the .com bit and then /episode number. So today's would be /27, for example. So it was my birthday on Sunday, and I had a holiday planned, but the UK went into lockdown and the hotel closed, and basically all the plans that I had went out the window. So I'm here on my toodles, and Karen, my partner, who was supposed to be up here, has obviously had to stay at home. It's like she's 5 hours away. So you think there'd be good reason for me to be pretty miffed on my birthday. Now, I'm not going to say that, I didn't seriously miss a physical presence, but as it turned out, it was a pretty wonderful day. It was a really unique experience. These challenging times. Oh, cough. Oh, no. Is it a symptom? Everyone, how are you finding that? If you have a cough, you're like, oh, my God. But no, it was really fascinating because we had to find new ways to sort of to celebrate. And one of the things, because she got me some presents, is she was like asking me, how do I want to do your presents? Do you want to wait? It could be who knows how long. I said, well, no, just do a reveal. So she was very creative. So what we did is we got onto FaceTime, and she'd wrapped presents in I'm going to say it. She wrapped them in sexy lingerie, and I thought, oh my God, that's genius. And then just unwrapped, they were in boxes, and so she would take off her mask, not herself, off of the present and do the reveal. So it was an absolute hoot and really made me smile first thing in the morning when I was missing her and thinking, I wish you were here. It did make me smile. So that was fantastic. And then, we actually had a big family gathering. So I had my mum and dad and my dad's partner and both my sisters all together on one video conference call. Now, I've got to tell you, my family, getting them together is like herding cats. So that was pretty amazing. We've never done that before. And the rest of the day, I actually spent again online with my daughter, who's, again, miles away from me where she lives now, which was fantastic. And she invited me to come join her. They play a game called Dungeons and Dragons, which I used to play when I was younger, and then just introduced her to it. So to be invited into my sort of early 20-something daughter's crew of all her friends and play was like just an absolute hoot. I'd not played it for years. So it's amazing. It could make what could have been a really dour, miserable day was actually a wonderful one. And by the way, thanks to all of you who gifted me with the things on my birthday list that I gave you last week. Those are the gifts of subscribing to the podcast on your platform, reviews, shares, and feedback. And thanks also for all the lovely messages that I received and of course, belated gifts are always welcome on that front from that list. And actually, my birthday was a good example of, feeling good in crappy situations, which is what I'm helping you with today in this episode. I mean, to be fair, for me, it was actually straightforward for me to sort of shift my state around my birthday or the scuppered plans around my birthdays. But, to be fair, I'm not particularly hung up on birthdays. But that's not always the case, not for me into some situations. And I'm sure for many of you, when you find yourself stuck in attachment around crappy situations, wanting to be different, you're tied up in a funk, it can take a little bit more work to get yourself free and feeling good. And last week, I promised you I'd be going deeper into the realm of the conditionality trap, and sharing a really powerful exercise that will help you free yourself from that. So today is the day when I deliver on that promise. And I'm sharing my unconditional pivot exercise, which is based on an exercise from Abraham Hicks, or get my teeth on, Joel. Abraham Hicks, and I've kind of souped it up for what I believe is very good reasons, which I'll explain as we get into it. And I'll be sharing some specific instructions also today on how you can, again, optionally use MPA to really take that exercise to the next level. So you can think of this exercise as a free class or a mini training. And with that in mind, I've actually put together a worksheet which you can download for free via the show notes for this episode. Think of it as my birthday gift to you. So just head over to www.beabrillianthuman.com/27. When you get there, you'll see a button that says download the free worksheet, or a link that says it there. So click that. It'll take you to a form where you can just enter your name and your email so I know where to send it to you. And it's simple as that. Just go ahead and do that, because that sheet's going to be a really real help to you on this mini training today. And also, let me tell you why I chose to share this particular exercise, and why I believe it can be particularly helpful to you at the moment. I mean, there's no doubt that we're in unprecedented times now. Unprecedented, that word, I know it's been used left, right, and centre, but it's true. We are in unprecedented times. And actually, I've been asking myself, hand on heart, I've been like, how can I, what can I do? How can I support you? How can I give you something that's practical, easy to use, and makes a difference? Because that's what I do. And really help you to navigate these times with as little stress and as much well-being as possible. Beyond just MPA, which of course you can already download for free from me. And I was looking at kind of what's going on in the world and asking myself, where a lot of the suffering and the stress is occurring. And it kind of seemed to me that the core of it for the majority is the fact that there are so many unknowns. There's so much going on that's beyond our control. I mean, many of our usual liberties are being taken away, certainly in this country. I know for so many of us around the world, we can't buy the things we usually buy or go places we usually go. We can't see the people we would usually see. Maybe we're seeing more than usual of the people in our lives. That can bring up its own issues, right? We don't know what's going to happen, with our finances, with the economy, with jobs, and obviously we're concerned about our health. That's a natural one, and the health of our loved ones. And I know there's lots of ways to positively spin this, which I love. It's a gift to the environment. Yes, I think that's true. It's a reset of humanity's awareness. Hopefully that will happen. Awareness of our connectedness and how we all affect each other. It's a chance to stop and breathe, really, and to find new possibilities and ways to work. Just look at what's happening with the, work from home, the online stuff. In many ways, it's a big pattern interrupt on on so many levels of our society, which, let's face it, has been running pretty unsustainably for a very long time. So all those things are valid mindsets that are going to help you through, but they're kind of very meta ideas, aren't they? They're kind of up there and at the coal face of day-to-day human experience. Right now, it's a bit more nitty-gritty, isn't it? So, there's many things that sort of understandably, they feel like, crappy situations. So, and here's the thing, that I feel, is a huge cause of unnecessary additional suffering in these kind of crappy situation. And that's the tendency to put your happiness on hold and wait for the conditions to change. Now, if you haven't already listened to last week's episode, which is called What's Your Happiness, then it's worth doing that. But to catch you up quickly, I mean, great if you can pause this, go back, listen to it and then come back again. But let me just catch you up quickly. I made the point that happiness isn't just about smiling and jumping for joy. Sometimes happiness is a sense of inner relief or just a settling of something that's been turbulent, conflicted, or seemingly unresolvable inside. So it's important to get clear on what happiness actually means to you in any situation. Hence, it was called What's Your Happiness? And when I'm talking about happiness here, I'm referring to whatever your happiness looks and feels like. So I chose to share this exercise and in some detail and to put the time and energy into creating a sheet for you precisely because it's about pivoting away from trying and limiting your well-being and good feeling to a specific condition being met. And, right now, as I say, so much of that is beyond our control, to genuinely and fully being able to access that good feeling now without being dependent on things you can't control. So does that sound like something you could do with some help with? Fantastic. Well, let's get started with a little groundwork. So first up, this has definitely been one of my go-to exercises over the years. I've used it really quite a lot in lots of different situations. I find it very powerful for myself. And also, credit where it's due, this really, what I'm giving you today is my expanded version of what is a classic Abraham Hicks, what they call a pivoting exercise. Hence, I've expanded it to the Unconditional Pivot Exercise. But in case you've never heard of Abraham Hicks, I'll link to their website on the show notes. They're basically known as the secret behind the secret, the law of attraction, all that kind of stuff comes on the back of a lot of the work of Abraham Hicks. But go investigate them if you haven't heard of them. Now, steps 1 and 2, it's an 8-step process, really. So steps 1 and 2 are the original. They're what Abraham Hicks shares. And then in steps 3 to 8, what I'm using there really is my gentle step approach. Processes I use that with. They allow you to kind of really authentically and fully connect with your better feeling place, which is where you're moving to. Sometimes going like just with the first 2 steps can be a bit of a jump. So the extra bits I've found really, really help. I've used it with clients or even with myself. There's additional pieces that can be actually a huge factor in truly making it connect and making a difference to it working and landing. So when can you use it? Well, it's great anytime that you catch yourself blaming someone else or some outside situation for you feeling crap. There you are, it's conditional. Well, maybe perhaps a softer way to say that is, if you're making your happiness conditional on the circumstances changing, then this is a great time to sort of pull out this exercise and use it. For example, if you want someone to behave differently than they are, so maybe you want your husband to be more communicative and he's just not playing ball, at least not on your timeline. So maybe you're feeling frustrated, angry and unloved, and you're telling yourself in some way, I'll feel okay when he sorts his shit out or something, or perhaps if only he was more communicative, I'd stop being so angry all the time. So again, what you're doing there is you're making your happiness, peace and well-being conditional on his behavior, over which you ultimately have no control, no matter how much you metaphorically beat him over the head, do the push-pull, the punishment, all the rest of it. You ultimately have no control over his behavior. So you're basically denying yourself your well-being. So this exercise will help you to really cut out the middleman, to go direct to the source and let yourself experience, the happiness that you want right now. Or maybe it's a situation. You want a situation to be different than it is. So there's probably a lot of that going on right now with all, the situational fallout from the coronavirus. Whatever it is, I'm worried, fearful, angry, sad, feel unsafe because, and pick whatever the situation is. So maybe it's, I'll feel better when it changes and gets back to normal, or I'm worried about keeping my job, and I'm angry because the stock market tanked. I'm sad because my plans were cancelled. I feel unsafe because people are still ignoring the government's instructions. All of those statements, these are all sort of placing restraints and conditions on your well-being. And ultimately, these situations are beyond your control. Now, if you think about it, what you really want is a change of state, to feel better in some way. And we put that on the conditions, but the answer isn't really in the conditions. In fact, that's the trap. The answer is right here in you and fully available now. And this exercise that we're doing today will get you there. So before we get into the step-by-step of the exercise, I want to talk a bit about the underlying principles, why it works and why it's particularly relevant now. So firstly, this is a feeling-focused exercise. So again, in the language of Abraham Hicks, this is about finding a better feeling place, which is really about moving from feeling crap to feeling good, ultimately in some form. So the thing is, your personal efforts to control or influence the circumstances, sometimes, they just have no impact at all. Some things are literally outside of your influence. But what you can influence is your feelings. Your feelings are much more fluid and directable by you. And to reiterate the point, the result you really want when you try to influence circumstances is a feeling, but we make circumstances the middleman. So this exercise, it's going to show you that that's not only unnecessary, but it's actually kind of an arse-about-face approach to it all. So let's go a bit deeper with that, because feeling states are related to beingness. So thoughts, feelings, or thoughts, beliefs, and actions are born from states of being or states of feeling. So think about it. If you're being afraid, then you're going to think fearful thoughts, you'll believe fearful things, your actions, your behaviors will come from a fearful place. You'll feel fearful, and that sucks, right? Now, if you're being peaceful, then you're going to think peaceful thoughts. You'll believe peaceful things. Your actions, your behaviors, they'll come from a peaceful place. You'll feel peaceful. Now, I've got a question for you. So, do you think you're going to be more empowered, practical, proactive, clear thinking, and able to protect and care for you and your loved ones if you're feeling peaceful or if you're feeling fearful? Just ponder it. If you really think about it, aren't your actions expressions of your states of being? In other words, how you act is led by how you feel. I know for me, the answer is, I'm much more present, available, and effective when I'm peaceful. When I'm fearful, my heart and brain just kind of shut down, and, that sucks, and it helps nobody, not me, not anybody around me. And finally, on the principles front, let's talk about energy and vibration. Shifting your feeling state is about shifting your energy and vibration. Energy and vibration is what creates the world, my friend. And that's not woo-woo. I'm imagining that you, as my listener, have come across that before, but it's not woo-woo. It's actually the default setting for physics now. And so much of the technology that we take for granted today, the stuff that's making us able to talk to each other across the vast spaces, is based on those very principles of energy. Literally, the shape of the world around you is determined by energies held at various frequencies. And when it comes to our human experience, that holds true. How you run your energy, how your energy is in motion, emotion, has a huge impact on how the world forms around you. And as you work through this exercise, you'll literally be changing the frequencies you're vibrating with. And that in turn invites, different manifestations, different experiences, different actions. It's the magic of the universe, beloved listener. So, there's a lot to be gained from this exercise. So let's go step by step through it. Now, if you haven't yet downloaded the worksheet, I really recommend you do that. Obviously, if you're driving, operating heavy machinery and all that kind of stuff, do it later. But if you can do it now, just pause this recording, go over to the show notes, just go type in www.beabrillianthuman.com/27. When you get there, you'll see on there somewhere download the free worksheet button or a link. I haven't put it up there yet, but it'll probably be a button. Click that. It'll take you to a form where you can enter your name and your email. So I know where to send it. It'll come through to you pretty quickly, probably straight away, maybe a few minutes. You can download it, print it out, or look at it on your device, and you're good to go. So let's get into it. Okay, so first up, I'm going to just simply go through the steps with you. If you've got the sheet in front of you, that'll be pretty clear. So I'll walk you through that. And then I'm going to walk you through an example and give you some extra notes. It made sense to me to use, a coronavirus example. Given what's happening right now, might as well use that. I mean, I'm sure that's what's going on for a lot of us right now. But let's start with the steps themselves. So the unconditional pivot, I've called it. Step 1. Very simple. So just write a short paragraph which describes the sucky or stressful situation or the crappy situation you got going on. So in MPA, we'd call this a spew. And it's simply really a chance for you just to let it out, to write out what the current situation is, what's happening in you, how you currently feel. And this step, it's really about meeting yourself where you are. So don't overthink it. Just let it splurge out. And once you've done that, then you can go to step 2, which is write a short paragraph which starts, if the condition changed, I would feel ... So in step 2, just imagine yourself and how you'd be if the conditions were as you'd like them to be. And then write from that place. Again, let it flow. Focus on how you would be feeling if that were the case. So again, just write that out. And then step 3, just go through the paragraph that you've written for that step 2. So what that kind of how it would be, how you would feel if the conditions were as you wanted them. Go through that paragraph and underline only the feelings that are essentially self-focused. Now, remember that the intent of this exercise is to free you from states that are conditional on circumstances and other people's behavior. So while, it's quite common language to use feeling phrases like, I want to feel heard, that's not actually a self-focused expression. It's conditional because someone else is required to do something in order for you to feel that. The same goes for words like, seen and respected. I want to feel seen. I want to feel respected. I want to feel loved. All of those are conditional. Now, if you look at words like safe or open or liked, for example, these are self-focused. No one else is required for me to be able to feel open or liked. And I have the capacity to feel open or liked regardless of the circumstances. It's a state or a feeling. It's internally accessed. I mean, again, safe is one of those words where, you can often make it conditional, I'll only feel safe when, but actually intrinsically it's something that we can feel sort of unconditionally. So again, for step 3, go through your step 2 paragraph and underline only the feelings that are essentially self-focused. Now, steps 4 to 8 they all follow the same basic format. You're going to take your list of underlined words, and you can write them out in a separate list if that helps. That's what I do, and there's a piece available on the worksheet to download for that. And add each word to the end of the statements that come in steps 4 to 8. Now, the statement you use is going to change, and it's actually going to progress through steps 4 to 8. And what you're actually doing here is softly walking yourself from your initial state to a place where you can really fully embrace and align yourself with the underlying feelings, what you really want to feel and experience, in other words. This gradual process, it sort of gives you, I guess, time and space to connect with the vibration, which may initially, be quite a stretch. You start off feeling all grumpy about it. It can be a stretch to get to those wonderful states. So this does it step by step. So what you'll do is you'll take all the underlined words through the statements for each step and then move on to the next step. So if you have 5 underlined words, say, then you'll do, the step 4 statement 5 times, once for each word, then move on to the step 5 statement. And I highly recommend that you literally say the statements out loud, and really connect with the statements as you say them, sort of give them time to sink in and land. So the step 4 statement, let's start with that one. The step 4 statement is, I like being in the receiving mode of thoughts, energies, and perspectives that help me feel, and then you would insert whatever feeling word you've got. So in this one, I've used the term receiving mode. That's a very Abraham Hicks word. It speaks to being available to tune into certain frequencies. It really works for me. But if that language doesn't work for you or doesn't resonate with you, that's okay, because there's some other ways that I'm going to offer you to say it. So, for example, if receiving mode doesn't work for you, you could try, I like tuning in to thoughts, energies, and perspectives that help me feel, ... Put your word there. Or another one might be, I like being available to thoughts, energies, and perspectives that help me feel. The thing is to really, and it's true through a lot of this exercise, to use whatever works or what really clicks for you. So the step 5 statement is, I like feeling, and then you insert your feeling. Or there's also an alternative there, which is, I like the feeling of. So here, adding step 6, actually, there's 2 options for the statement that you use. And again, this is about keeping the energy smooth. And, for you, some words are going to feel or sound better on the end of I like the feeling of than I like feeling. So, for example, let's say your underlying word is safety. For me, that works better as I like the feeling of safety. But I could say I like feeling safety. And if I underline the word safe, then I like feeling safe would definitely work better for me. So again, the point here is to choose whichever feels linguistically or energetically better for you, given the word that you're adding. The step 6 statement is, I love experiencing the feeling of. Or again, there's a second choice there. I love the experience of feeling ... Add your word there. Again, choose whichever of those feels linguistically and energetically better for you for each word. The step 7 statement is, I am feeling more. Add your feeling. And the step 8 statement is, I feel. Just, it's dead on, I feel. So whatever your word is. So by step 8, your statement is, I feel. And because you've walked yourself gently step by step into this place, it's going to feel, or perhaps I should say, it will be a true statement for you. You will literally be in a much better place, feeling better and much more resourceful, clear, aligned, and able to make wholesome decisions and, have wholesome responses. Okay, so time for an example. So I'll give you an example so you've got a clear picture of how it works. So let's imagine that I'm worried about the whole coronavirus thing. It's really getting me down. I'm tired of feeling stressed about it, and I want to feel better, but I notice that I'm making feeling better conditional on things out there changing. So I realize that shifting my state is probably the best thing that I can do for myself and for those around me. And that means I need to do a bit more work, a work that's a bit more consciously intentional. So I reach for the unconditional pivot exercise and I get started. So step 1, write a short paragraph which describes the sucky or stressful situation. So I just start writing. I'm so stressed out about what's going to happen with this whole coronavirus thing. There's so many uncertainties and people are going mad. There's no toilet roll, no pasta, no hand sanitizer. I'm worried as this goes on whether I'll get paid enough to pay my bills. And staying at home, I'm going a bit stir crazy. I'm worried about my parents because they're in the risk category. I'm worried that I'm going to run out of food. I'm worried that the economy is going to go to shit. I'm worried that there's going to be anarchy, or the military are going to take over, or maybe it's all a conspiracy and an excuse for the super rich to take control, like I read on Facebook. And I'm trying to keep my vibe positive and loving, but inside there's a deep panic, and I'm really confused about what's the best thing to do. So many apocalyptic Hollywood movies running through my head. So there you go. That's just spewing it out, splurging, getting it off my chest. So when you've done that, go to step 2. It says, write a short paragraph which starts, if the condition changed, I would feel... Okay, so take a moment just to imagine what that looks like. Kind of step into it. and then just start writing. So here's what I would write out. Well, things would basically be back to normal. So I would feel safe, like things weren't being interrupted and I could be productive. I would feel back in control, like I was free to go where I wanted to go and do what I needed to do. I would feel secure and grateful and happy. I would appreciate the things that I've probably been taking for granted. It would be a huge relief. That's it. You don't need to overthink this. Just let it flow. And I really want you to notice that in steps 1 and 2, I'm allowing myself to be conversational, because being conversational tends to allow the mind to flow much better than when you're listing or being analytical. In other words, it tends to be a clearer expression of what's really going on for you. And also the results then are going to feel much more connected. On to step number 3. So go over the paragraph and underline only the feelings that are essentially self-focused. So let's go through it. First bit. So, well, things would basically be back to normal. Okay, so no feelings in there. So I would feel safe, great, perfectly self-accessible. 1, underline safe. Like things weren't being interrupted and I could be productive. Okay, so productive, not strictly an emotion, but I'm going to underline that 1 and I'll explain that in a moment. I would feel back in control. So again, that's 1 I'm going to underline and I'll explain that later. It's one of those discernment jobs. Like I was free. Free, brilliant, underline that. To go where I wanted to go and do what I needed to do. Okay, no feelings in there. That's not going to be anything else. I would feel secure and grateful and happy. 3 good ones there. Secure, grateful, happy. Underline those. I would appreciate the things that I probably have been taking for granted. So appreciate there, I'm going to underline that. Again, I'm going to make a point because it teaches you something about that one. For me, that's a feeling, appreciate, so I'll underline that one. Last line, it would be a huge relief. Classic relief, brilliant, that's a feeling, underline it. Okay, so again, I've underlined some words there that aren't strictly emotions, like productive and in control. And as I said, this is one of those matters of discernment, but in general, it's okay to do this. So, why does it work here? Well, in this context, those words point to a feeling or experience which is available unconditional of circumstances. So for me, I can sense a state of feeling productive or in control, and that's regardless of the circumstances. So it works. Now, if I'd said in control of X or could produce Y, then those would have been conditional statements. I wouldn't have included them. I wouldn't have underlined them. And also want to note the word appreciate, because it's one of those words with sort of interesting grammatical variants, depending on the context. And I want to make the point to you that it's okay to use the variants, as you move through the steps. In this case, the variant I'd use would be appreciation. It's a variant which points to a direct feeling state, again, which is independent of conditions. And, the relevance of this will become clearer as we keep going through the steps. So I find it helpful when I do this to make a list of the words that I've underlined. So after that process, step 3, we've got 9 words: safe, productive, in control, free, secure, grateful, happy, appreciation, and relief. So notice that I've used the variant of appreciate there, appreciation. So on to steps 4 to 8. So for these steps, I'm going to be saying each statement 9 times, 1 for each of those words, the 9 words I've got. For the sake of brevity here, I'll be doing it here forever. I'll just use 3 of them. I'm going to be using safe, control, and appreciation so that you get the idea. So step 4 would go, because the step 4 statement is, I like being in the receiving mode of thoughts, energies, and perspectives that help me feel safe. I like being in the receiving mode of thoughts, energies, and perspectives that help me feel in control. I like being in the receiving mode of thoughts, energies, and perspectives that help me feel appreciation. So notice there that I'm taking a little time to pause and reflect on each statement. A little time to let it sink in and really land in me. And I'll do that throughout each of the different steps. So again, you'll go through all of the words for that step. And we're already starting to move and shift our vibration here, or I am in this case as example. So step 5. So here I've got options. And for appreciation, I like the feeling of appreciation. It feels better to me than I like feeling appreciation. So for me, in this case, it would go, I like feeling safe. I like feeling in control. I like the feeling of appreciation. So again, continually moving forward. Step 6 also has options. So for me, it would run this way. I love the experience of feeling safe. I love the experience of feeling in control. I love experiencing the feeling of appreciation. So we're starting to get more affirmative and present as we come into step 7. Again, notice that I'm feeling my way through it. I don't know if you can feel it. I can, even just saying it, even though I've done this exercise before, I can feel the shift in vibration. So step 7, we'll go like this. I am feeling more safe. I am feeling more in control. I am feeling more appreciation. So there's a possible variant here with the word safe, which I want to point out. So I chose to keep it simple. That worked for me. I am feeling more safe. But linguistically, it would have done the same job without compromising the conditionality to use safer. So I could have said, I am feeling safer, and that would have worked. Again, use your discernment and do what feels or works best for you. Which brings us to step number 8 and kind of full presence and alignment with the feeling state. So that would go, I feel safe. I feel in control. I feel appreciation. So I hope you can sort of get a sense of how powerful and true those statements feel. I'm smiling here. Because the exercise, uses incremental steps. It's effortlessly walked me from a state of worry and frustration to a state of well-being, strength, and empowerment. I mean, how cool is that? So, when you download the worksheet, you'll see that there are spaces that you can write in. So you can print it out and use a space I provided, or, you can use your journal, or even just open a new doc on your device or document on your device. It's I often actually do it on a Word note, a Word document. That's how I often do it if I'm writing it out. So this whole example is written out in full on the worksheet when you download it. And I've also given you a second bonus example on there. I'm not going to go into that now, but it's a situation that's kind of a tricky and all too common relationship situation. Because I wanted you to see how it can be used beyond just the coronavirus. It's so useful in so many different situations. Although, to be fair, I dare say the lockdown thing's probably highlighted a lot of relationship issues for many people. But within the relationship example, there's some extra notes that's going to help you. Again, that will be on the sheet. So make sure that you go to www.beabrillianthuman.com/17, click that download the free worksheet button, enter your details, and I'll send it to you now. Okay, so I also promised you that I'd give you another extra bonus. And I promised that I'd, show you some ways or give you some info on how you can use MPA in conjunction with the unconditional pivot. Well, MPA is a great way to enhance this exercise. And if you've had any experience with MPA, and certainly if you've had any training from me, then the instructions are really quite simple. So here's what I suggest you do with it. I would choose 2 to 3 of the underlined feelings from step 3, the ones that feel most animated, and then run each of them through the MPA process as your cookie cutter. I would do it after you've done the 8 steps. It would be the time that I would choose to do it. This uses MPA in letting in mode and allows you to sort of fully embrace, or as I like to say, include yourself in the vibration of those key feelings on your list. And it's going to help if there's any residual resistance once you've been through the 8 steps, which is rare, but I know it can happen. And if there's no resistance, then it will help you to connect the feeling with even greater intensity. Now, if you're someone who's new to me or new to the podcast or haven't come across MPA until now, you're probably scratching your head and wondering what the gobbledygook I've just hit you with, really, because there's some terms in there. Well, quick catch up. The MPA process is a simple 6-line spoken word process that help you to stop taking things personally, and so much more. In fact, the way that it works is to really assist you in letting go of the yucky stuff and letting in the yummy stuff of life. You could say it's kind of lubrication for the flow of life. So what I suggest you do, if you've not come across it before, is go download the MPA process sheet. It's free on my site. You can have a play with it along with the unconditional pivot exercise, and there's links for that in the show notes and all over my websites. But if you want to type it into type the URL in now, the easiest one is probably just the podcast name, beabrillianthuman.com/NPA sheet, all lowercase, and MPA is November Papa Alpha, MPA sheet. All right, well, that's a wrap for me today. Click, click aboard, off it goes. I really hope that I've managed to convey this to you. I think just make sure you download that sheet and have a play with it, go through it. This is an exercise that can really help you shift your state. I mean, if you're a dab hand with MPA, I dare say, and I certainly hope you're using MPA left, right, and center in your life. But this is one that really kind of helps you meet yourself where you are and take yourself from out of a state of sucky, yucky crappiness when you're focused on the conditions around us right now, into a state of vibration and health and well-being and mental yumminess that I think is probably one of the most vital things that we can all do for ourselves. Because again, as I said, from that, your behaviors, the way you think about things are going to shift. You're going to be a more useful person to yourself, to your family, to the community, to life, and to the general, if you go in this direction with it, to the general energy of humanity as we sort of do the energetic work to shift the state and shift this pandemic and can move forward where we can get and learn the deeper lessons. All right, so yes, go download it. Have I not said that enough today? Let me know how you find it. If you use it, or I hope you do, again, get back to me. You can contact me on social media. You can direct message me. You can comment on the posts and let me know how you use the exercise and how it helps you. Otherwise, thanks so much for staying with me. Thanks for listening to the show. As ever, I hope that it stirred you, touched you, and given you a perspective that helps you up your game in some form. And as ever, if you like what you hear, go tell somebody. Again, the show notes for today will be at www.beabrillianthuman.com/27. That's where you can download the sheet. And as ever, if you want some one-on-one time with me to really support you, especially at this time, you can go and check out my sessions and the details there. It's joelyoungnpa.com/sessions for all the details. Make sure you're subscribed. I'd love a review. Message me. Tell me what's going on in your world. And I will see you next week. And all that remains, as you know, regular listener, is to cue the moo.